Tonight, after what is being, I think, sort of mildly described as backlash to Trump's attempt for this slush fund, Trump's attempt to back up a truck to the Treasury to take nearly $2 billion to use as a slush fund. The White House tonight is reportedly backing off that plan to try to take that money for Trump. And that is in part because it hasn't just been Democrats in Congress. It has been Republicans in Congress who said no to this thing and who showed themselves to be prepared to vote against it as well. But I think the underappreciated part of all of this, something I feel like I want more clarity on, is that it is really starting to look like they were going to get in trouble for this. There was that one court ruling on Friday that ordered Trump not to start up the fund or make any disbursements from it. But there was also the other court ruling on Friday that essentially indicated that a judge had started an investigation, a court ruling that essentially started an investigation led by a federal judge into whether or not the whole process by which Trump was trying to take this money might have been an act of fraud, might have been a fraud on the court. The whole idea that this was a settlement of a lawsuit appears to have been false from the beginning. It was designed that way simply as a pretext to give the appearance of legality to what was otherwise just a bank robbery against the American people. And it is one thing politically to try to pull that off for the American people. It's one thing to try to sort of try to scam people and tell people not to believe their lying eyes about what's happened. But to do it to a federal court essentially gives the federal judge overseeing that court the right to look into it to see whether you might have committed fraud against that court and thereby be subject to sanctions for it. So this is going to be really interesting. Trump may be dropping this slush fund as of tonight. Reportedly, he is considering doing that. But as far as I understand it, him dropping it won't necessarily stop the judge's investigation, the now ongoing investigation into whether all of this was a crime. You never know how all the pushback is going to work out, but the pushback always and ever matters. Joining us now is Joyce Vance, former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, co-host of the excellent Sisters-in-Law podcast. Joyce, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here.
It's good to see you, too.
Joyce, is it, as you know, I'm not a lawyer. I do not play one on TV, but is it fair for me to characterize this as the judge in this case effectively investigating what went on here?
I think that that's a fair characterization because under Article 3 of the Constitution, courts only consider actual cases and controversies. And the potential issue here is that Donald Trump was on both sides of the V in this lawsuit. He was the plaintiff who was suing the IRS, but he also purports to control decisions that the IRS makes. And so there's actually video of him saying, "Isn't this crazy? You know, I have to decide how much money to give myself." So the judge is entitled to figure out whether that was a case she should have been considering in the first place.
In her order on this on Friday, which was a sort of terse, like 4-page order, very sternly worded, the judge, in this case, Judge Kathleen Williams, noted that she is entitled to investigate serious misconduct as a collateral issue within the purview of Rule 11. And I talked to a couple of lawyers about this, and all of them were basically just saying, like, Rule 11, exclamation point, Rule 11. Can you explain for us non-lawyers what Rule 11 is and whether it is, in fact, a big deal that that is what was invoked by the judge as she looks into this?
It is a big deal. There's a little bit of law school 101 that has to happen here. This case has been dismissed, and so to get to that Rule 11 consideration, the judge would have to reopen the case. And she can do that. There's actually a group of 35 former federal judges. They've petitioned her and said, please, Judge, use Rule 60 to reopen this case and decide whether you should set aside the dismissal because there was a fraud that was perpetrated on the court. And so as part of doing that, the judge then says, you know, there's a rule called Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, and it involves filing frivolous motions or frivolous cases. And judges can sanction parties who do that. And so she's almost musing to herself in this 4-page order saying, well, I think I might need to inquire into that. And if she were to use Rule 11, she would be able to ask the government to explain itself. Why did you file this case? Did you understand that it was collusive in some sense? Who was responsible? Who signed off on this? Who didn't, say that this settlement should not have taken place, because you can't have the president setting his own settlement up. So lots of legitimate inquiry that she can engage in there if she decides it's appropriate.
Joyce Vance, this is going to be fascinating to watch. Again, we don't know for sure whether they are withdrawing this thing. The reporting is that they are at least considering it. There remains the open question about the IRS immunity part of this that was tacked onto the supposed settlement after it was closed. It's going to be a lot to watch here. Thanks for helping us understand, Joyce. It's really good to see you.